Every single day, you wake up and make decisions. 34,000 decisions. What to wear, what to eat, what to buy. And each of these choices tell a story. Your story. But what if I told you that these choices aren't really yours? That your wants are carefully planted in you by marketing experts? Don't believe me?
आओ गगन रहो मगन.
You know, one of the most intimate portraits of a nation is seen through the lens of consumerism.
Glucose D, with 2 glucose to give.
This relentless pursuit of trying to purchase happiness tells the story of a nation and the desires that drive its people. For more than 40 years after independence, India consumed like it was at war. And in a way, we were. A war against scarcity. We had one TV channel, 4 to 5 car models, and one dream: survival. Your grandparents lived on these ration cards. Why? Because up until 80s, buying wasn't a choice, it was a privilege. See, back in the 60s, India's total consumer spending was around 2.7 lakh crores. Spending on leisure and luxury wasn't even considered a category analysts bothered to track. The concept itself was almost non-existent. That was our story. But today, consumer spending has skyrocketed to over 190 lakh crores. And luxury and leisure accounts for 1/4 of it. I mean, clearly, we are witnessing a cultural transformation. This new generation isn't just working to pay bills or save for the future. They're chasing experiences. They're traveling, they're living in the moment and completely reimagining what happiness, success, or even being content means in modern India. Our story is being rewritten right before our eyes. But there's a twist. Something feels off about this portrait. An invisible playbook of sorts filled with intricate tricks is hijacking this portrait of our nation. Rather than our desires, consumerism is instead telling the story of which brands have the best tricks, the sharpest algorithms, and the most persuasive psychology. This needs to be fixed, and I am going to show you how. We're going to deep dive into how these marketing experts are quietly shaping our identities for us. But first, I'm going to introduce you to 4 characters from 4 different classes, each with a unique relationship with money. I want you to pay close attention and try to tune in to the psychology behind their spending habits.
दूसरा टेप है क्या इसका एडेसिव?
Hello, my name is Seshing. I am 35 years old.
Hi, I am Ruchir.
मेरा नाम दिनेश है.
This is Anisha. I'm the founder and CEO of NeuroLux Sleep Pods.
10वीं तक मैंने पढ़ाई करी है.
Post grad from IIM Ahmedabad.
And I work as a team manager at Pragati Sales Private Limited company. पास की एक जगह पे मैं दिहाड़ी पे काम करता हूँ.
We are a unicorn startup.
You mean like my hobbies? छुट्टी जब मिलती है तो दोस्तों के साथ कभी भी गली में क्रिकेट खेल लेता हूँ.
Cryo chamber therapy.
One thing I enjoy is going on a long drive with my wife and kids.
Playing keyboard, and sometimes I do voice acting.
I love Pilates.
Music cassettes. कोई गाड़ी निकाल स्प्लेंडर निकाल के घूमने चले आते हैं.
I go for skiing.
Well, I like to call my friends at my house, hosting house parties, mountains, hiking. As a hotel manager, I have to work with a lot of clients. For me, it's really important to look different from everyone else. I have to stand out.
One time I bought an Nike shoes because my son wanted one because all his friends had one. But one thing that he didn't know that I bought a fake one for him. And now he's all happy and satisfied. I don't have any preferences. Like I buy everything that everybody else buys. पास वाले दुकान पे पिंकू भैया बैठते हैं. अब उनके वहाँ पे जो भी सस्ते में और अच्छा
और जस्ट लगे कि लंबा चलेगा वो हम ले लेते हैं.
Most of my wardrobe is focused on sustainability, and I am not into fast fashion at all, so I make sure I pick clothes that are ethically sourced.
So, what did you notice? When it comes to Indian consumers, our richest and poorest classes have something in common. They both make very deliberate choices. Look at Danesh and Anisha. They both don't indulge in excess, both dodge mainstream brands and stick to minimalism. But while Dinesh does it because he has to, Anisha does it because she wants to. Both of them make incredibly conscious decisions. One because his needs force his hand, and the other because she sees right through the illusion. But the middle classes, where most of us are, now that's where things get really interesting. Sher Singh and Ruchir are essentially the dream customers for nearly 90% of brands. Sher Singh leans towards Indian brands, focusing on mirroring his peers in order to fit in with the crowd. He pursues inclusivity, whereas Ruchir, armed with more wealth and a younger outlook, chases exclusivity. His purchasing decisions are an effort to stand out from the crowd. And who do you think is on the other side watching all of this? Brands, of course. Now that we all know that it's these middle class identities that are most at risk of being hijacked, let's flip the script. Stop thinking like buyers and start thinking like the sellers, the brands. Let me show you exactly how they do it, and after learning these, you will never look at your purchases the same way again.
Google is able to collect an amount of information about its users that would even make the NSA blush.
We can use eye tracking analysis to show where you're looking at and therefore examines your visual attention.
Facebook admits it knew about data harvesting for at least 2 years.
It was my mistake.
The whole economic world is bracing for the next big revolution.
I think we're in an era where creativity, technology, and data will become the foothold of marketing culture. I think we're in that golden age. It's a really exciting time to be in marketing.
Picture this. You're on a cab after a hectic day at work. As the city blurs past your window, a thought pops in your head. I should order Domino's tonight. Feels like a random craving, right? Your idea, your choice. But what if I told you that craving wasn't so random? See, weeks earlier, Domino's had been quietly weaving itself into your neural network. Those subtle ads about the perfect way to unwind, that casual mention on your favorite podcast.
Don't talk to me like I haven't had Domino's recently.
They weren't just background noise, they were seeds planted deep in your mind. Your brain filed it all away, building tiny neural pathways that link Domino's with unwinding, with reward, with you. By the time that craving hit, it wasn't really a choice, it was a reflex. Then you reach home and you want to cozy up and watch a comforting film. Except it's too late. But when you switch on the TV, all of a sudden something shifts. Now you're committed to finding something to watch. Fatigued after an overwhelming number of options, you settle on a film with a thumbnail of a couple deeply locked in an intimate stare. It feels like a string of decisions that feel very personal to you, except this invisible hands tugging at those very strings. You know that iconic Netflix sound? Here's a fun fact about it. So Netflix initially wanted to go with a goat's bleat, playfully mocking MGM's roaring lion. But instead, they went scientific. Their VP, Todd Yellen, and Oscar-winning sound designer Lon Bender crafted a unique sound by mixing a wedding ring staff, a slowed-down anvil, and even a reverse electric guitar. Why? Because they were programming a trigger just like Pavlov conditioned his dogs to expect food and salivate at the sound of a bell. This tudum, it triggers your brain into recalling every cozy night in, every thrilling plot twist, and every moment of escape and comfort. And all of that adds up to you committing to their product. And the overwhelming grid of options, that is not a bug, it's a feature. They want you to feel fatigued because when you're tired, you're more likely to settle. Even those thumbnails aren't random either. Netflix is constantly testing out personalized thumbnails just for you. Once the platform became aware of your affinity for close-up facial expressions, they used that to get you to click on that film you didn't know you wanted to watch. So there you are. Pizza ordered, movie picked, thinking you made two separate personal choices. But what really happened was a carefully orchestrated dance of a trick they call sensory marketing. As you can see, marketing strategies today have infiltrated your lives pretty cleverly, right? There are endless ways these techniques can be used to shape people's behaviors. But here's the thing, they're not really weapons, we should look at them like tools. See, in an age where every brand is doing everything possible for a slice of our attention, trying to influence our choices through all means, there's a massive demand for people who truly understand how to stand out from the noise. Whether you dream of launching your own startup, building a personal brand, or joining a marketing team at a major company, knowing how to capture consumers' attention and turning that attention into real engagement is the new superpower. But the question is, how do you learn to do it well? It's not by just bombarding people with ads, which most marketers do, but by genuinely connecting with them, understanding consumer psychology and choices better, shaping their decisions, and creating memorable experiences that add real value. That is why I want to share with you guys the access to the entire playbook. If you've been watching and thinking, how do I get in on this? Pay attention. Masters Union has launched a new undergraduate program in psychology and marketing. This unique 4-year program is actually India's first to blend behavioral science with modern marketing strategies. Here, you don't just learn about marketing in isolation, you actually dive deeper with a core understanding of consumer psychology, and you also practice it. We're talking hands-on stuff like redesigning restaurant menus using neuromarketing principles and building strategies for actual D2C brands. The best part? You are learning this from the people who do this for a living. CMOs from Zomato, Epigamia, and both teach alongside professors from Cornell and Stanford and Kellogg. You will be diving into everything from neuromarketing to AI, from cognitive psychology to practical skills like graphic design and filmmaking. By the way, you also get a chance to work. They send you to work with companies like BlueSmart and Chayos, plus they give you opportunities to study in the US, Italy, or Singapore. Their Gurgaon campus is already seeing graduates land jobs at places like Zerodha, Cred, and Aether. If you're interested in being someone who shapes how brands connect with people, check out the link in the description to learn more about Masters Union and their program. Who knows, maybe someday we'll break down one of your marketing campaigns. Okay, so we know that brands have a playbook of tricks. We already saw how Netflix and Domino's use sensory marketing, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. What I'm about to show you will reveal just how deeply marketing and advertising has distorted the reality around us. Let's go back to one of our characters, Sher Singh. He's simply heading to the mall for a movie and some light shopping. Let's play a game. We are going to try and identify all the marketing traps waiting for him along the way. Sher Singh has a gap in his schedule and he decides to fill it with the latest movie starring superstar Allu Arjun, who's his favorite actor. But after a while of running around the mall trying to figure out its layout, he's still struggling to get to his destination. This is actually by design. It's called Crew and Transfer, where designers deliberately make a confusing labyrinthian layout for you to navigate. Why? Because the more you move, the higher the chances you'll bump into a shop that catches your eye. In Sher Singh's case, it's clearly worked. So in his quick detour, Sher Singh spots a pair of khaki trousers. He is smitten by it, but for him, the price is the deal breaker. So he keeps browsing until he finds something that fits his budget. He moves on to another identical khaki pant, which has a price tag of 799 rupees. Now, having come across one that's a rupee cheaper, he's somehow suddenly a little more likely to purchase it. It's basically caused by a cognitive bias called the left digit effect. You see, our brain, it reads numbers from left to right. So we place more weightage to the first digit we see, making 799 feel significantly lesser than 800 rupees. But still, Sher Singh isn't fully convinced, so he keeps browsing for a better find. This time though, he sees a khaki pant which has a price tag with a striked out 1200 with $799 as the price. And he gets this one, a steal deal with a 30% discount. This is what they call strike-through pricing. You know, we have a very famous classic Indian folklore which explains this cognitive bias. Remember when Arjuna was challenged to make a line appear smaller without altering it? What did he do? He simply drew a longer line beside it. After picking up his new pants and finally walking past all the distractions, Sher Singh reaches the theatre. With a few minutes to spare before the movie starts, he decides to grab some popcorn. Only problem is, what size tub to get? As soon as he sees the pricing, and I'm sure you can relate to this, the mental math kicks off in his head. A regular 90-gram tub costs 270 rupees. The median popcorn, which is twice the size at 180 grams, is only 70 rupees more. Now Sher Singh wants to maximize the value for his money, so he feels compelled to spend that extra 70 rupees on the medium tub. Thinking he's outsmarted the system, he settles in to enjoy his movie. You know, in reality, he's fallen for a trick called decoy pricing, a clever little inverse of the previous trick that trapped him. What you do here is, you put a decoy offer that is less appealing to make the more expensive option seem more valuable. Well, if only Sher Singh knew this. Nearly wrapping up his day, he decides to tick off one last errand with a quick stop at the grocery store. He doesn't know it yet, but Sher Singh is about to step into a highly calibrated space designed to burrow into his brain and steer his choices. As soon as he enters the store, he's greeted by a flood of inviting aromas. The freshest produce sits right at the entrance along with the aromatic bakery, meant to create an enticing atmosphere. This is sensory priming in action, a hotbed of sensory triggers designed to put you in a good mood. There's also moral licensing at play, meaning once you've grabbed a few healthy items, you're more likely to indulge in less healthy products later. But these tricks don't just end there. Studies have shown that when you're cold, you tend to spend about 18% more, and that a hint of a strong scent can boost customer satisfaction by 20%. Sher Singh is right in the thick of it, all while simply trying to buy some milk. And wait, here is the most interesting trick. You know, grocery stores deliberately place essentials like milk at the far end of the store. What this does is, this forces you to wander through aisles and be stimulated by 300 plus products vying for your attention. And even within that store, there are many more traps. Did you know, for brands to place their products on the middle shelves right at the eye level, they need to pay the stores a premium? This is because they're 25% more likely to be bought than items elsewhere. Meanwhile, placement for the bottom shelves are much cheaper because people are less likely to spot those products. Having purchased way more than he intended to, Sher Singh finally reaches the checkout. The line is long and his impatience starts to grow. That's when the nearby display of colorful souvenirs and candy strikes his interest. Suddenly, he's tempted to grab one of these little trinkets. This is known as parasite placement. You see, your brain is a dopamine-seeking machine, and when you're waiting in the line impatiently, you're especially vulnerable, making it more likely that your brain will trick you into purchasing these tiny hits of dopamine, just like Sher Singh does. Happy with himself, Sher Singh reaches home. He starts to unpack all the items onto the table. The clarity that he spent way more than he should have dawns on him. And suddenly, the horror kicks in. He's forgotten about the one product he was supposed to actually buy. A simple little trip to the mall turns out to be a battlefield for your brain. And all these marketing tricks we've seen fall under what's known as neuromarketing, where neuroscience, behavioral psychology, and marketing work in unison to hack your brain chemistry. Now, if you think that such tricks are only found in shopping environments, I want you to take a look around your own house. Scan through all your recent purchases and see whether or not any of your decisions were influenced by these tactics. Or better yet, let's take a short little trip around Ruchir's house and see how many of his recent buys were pre-planned during the brainstorming session of a marketing team. Ruchir has just woken up and he's got a big day ahead. It's his partner's birthday after all. He starts off the day with his usual routine, walks to the bathroom, picks up his brush and puts a hefty amount of toothpaste. Now, if you ask any dentist, they'd say that a pea amount is more than enough. But Ruchir, like so many others, has been trained to do things differently. Do you remember those Colgate ads that sneakily show a big dollop of toothpaste on your brush? That's their attempt at subliminal conditioning, where they indirectly try to educate you with what they want you to do, which in this case is to use up the entire tube as soon as possible. If all the tricks we have covered so far were about hacking your brain's hardware, what follows is all about reprogramming your mind's software. So like I said, Ruchir has a big day ahead. He's about to surprise his partner with a proposal. So he picks up Old Spice, a scent gifted to him by her. You see, sometimes brands don't even target their customers. Look at all the Old Spice commercials, for example.
Hello, ladies. Look at your man. Now back to me. Now back at your man. Now
Notice something? They're not talking to men at all.
You're on a boat with the man your man could smell it.
They are talking to women about their men. This is called proxy targeting. From Gillette to Wildstone to Huggies dad-friendly diapers, it's everywhere. Since this was an auspicious day for Ruchir, he picks up a box of chocolates from Cadbury. Despite her favorite sweets being a peda, what ran through his mind was,
Kuch meetha ho jaye.
And then he gets to the most important thing, a beautiful diamond ring that he spent 3 months of his salary on. What he doesn't realize is that his decisions have been shaped by decades of brilliant marketing. Before 1940s, diamond rings weren't even a tradition for engagements. Then the De Beers Group, a corporation specializing in diamond mining, launched their A Diamond is Forever campaign. They invented the idea that a diamond ring was a testament of true love and that a wedding ring should cost 3 months of your salary. And just like that, it led to diamonds becoming the ultimate symbol of love. This is called myth building, a yarn of true lies that can imbue itself into a culture and reshape our choices. And now Ruchir starts to get dressed. And to look his best, he goes through clothes by some of the fancier international brands. Alan Solly, Van Heusen, Peter England, Louis Philippe, Monte Carlo. What he hasn't figured out yet is that these international brands are all actually Indian. When Indian companies learned that a large portion of the population were aspirational and equated foreign with luxury, they just used foreign names for their branding. A clever little reframing to sell the same product with the illusion of exclusivity. But wait, it gets more interesting. Do you remember the quintessentially Indian brand, Bata? The one that probably made your school shoes? It's actually a brand from Czech Republic. They just wanted you to feel inclusivity, so they made their identity feel local. And it's not just them. Even those household staples you thought were born and bred in India, Horlicks, Lifebuoy, Maggi, Vicks, all have foreign roots. In the end, Ruchir settles for his favorite pair of Nike sneakers. But did you know Nike's iconic slogan, "Just Do It," was actually inspired by the last words of a convicted criminal? They just changed the context entirely because Nike learned that so many people like Ruchir weren't purchasing sports shoes as they couldn't associate themselves with athletes but still aspired to. So they didn't sell shoes, they sold permission. Permission to think of yourself as an athlete regardless of who you were. One little slogan turned self-doubt into a battle cry and made billions in revenue. Nike's campaign reflects the tactic of emotional engineering where brands tap into your emotional voids and satiate it with products. And with that, Ruchir is all set except... Do you know how many ads a person sees in a day? Take a guess right now. I'll reveal it in a minute, but I bet your guess wouldn't even be close. See, one of the issues with consumerism is that it links happiness to consumption, which can actually be a recipe for dissatisfaction. By placing buying at the center of daily life, you're allowing corporations to treat marketing as a weapon and define what happiness means to you. And to answer the previous question, an average person is likely to come across anywhere between 6,000 to 10,000 advertisements every single day. Was your guess close? Let me share some more stats with you. India spent around 145,000 crore rupees just to show you more and more ads last year. That's up 15.5% from the year before. And consumer spending, it hit around 2.4 trillion in just a quarter of the year. That's a number I can't even wrap my head around. All of this seems to be creating this constant, never-ending feeling that we need more. See, one thing has become very clear. Brands aren't just getting better at selling us products, they're getting better at programming who we are. But here's the thing about programming. Once you understand the code, you can't unsee it. And now all of you understand it because you've seen this video. Knowledge is power. And right now, there are many activists, economists that are pushing back, tech watchdogs that are exposing dark patterns, regular people who are waking up to these manipulation tactics. But the real change starts with you. So I want you guys to try something, okay? For the next week, track every single purchase you make, and every time you're buying something, ask yourself, is this my choice or their design? Because that's what we learned while making this video. The most powerful weapon against these marketing tricks, against manipulation, isn't regulation or technology, it's awareness. They may have written the playbook, but we decide how the story ends, and the story ends with you taking control of your choices.